Well, good evening, everyone, and God bless you. I guess everyone here knows about me and my family already. But to those who don't, I'm Romy. I was born in the Philippines. I'm the oldest of 12 brothers and sisters, 9 boys and 3 girls. All the boys are musicians, and all the girls, the 3 girls, they're all the majorettes. They're very good in twirling batons. So they go and do perform outside, and they receive trophies and sometimes monies. They're winners, so they're very good. So what I might share tonight is some of my experiences when I was younger, and also when I was younger in the Philippines, that God has showed me that He really there and always with me, and without me knowing it. And my mom and her family, they are Catholics, while my dad, on the other side, they are Protestants. They are the Seventh-day Adventists. So both sides, they're against the marrying each other. They don't want to marry them. They're against the wedding and things like that, because they want the one to convert first to Catholic, or the Catholic to convert to Seventh-day Adventist. So they eloped instead. Okay. So anyway, when I was little, my parents took me to live with my grandparents. I'm living with my Catholic grandma, who taught me the rosary. So I remember reciting the rosary every day with grandma. And by the way, I better do some, which one? Wait. Okay. Okay. Let's start again. Can you start me, please? There you go. That's me. That was when I was in my grandma's. Until then. So, and my grandma taught me the rosary. I remember reciting the rosary every day with grandma and the family at 6 o'clock in the evening on the dot. I need to be there, but did not really learn and understand what it's all about. And when I'm with my other grandma, which is the Protestant, she taught me about Jesus and told me a lot of stories in the Bible, like the creation, Adam and Eve, Abraham, Exodus, Noah and his ark, Samson and Delilah. I already know those since I was a little boy. The 10 Commandments about Moses, I already know from my grandma. I loved it, and I always enjoy listening to the stories from the Old and the New Testament. Now, being the oldest, it's my responsibility to help to provide for the family. And we're so many. So at the age of 10, I was earning money from selling flowers, ice blocks, bread. You know what I do? I woke up early in the morning and go to the bakery to pick up the bread to sell. I was carrying a basket full of freshly baked bread, and then started walking down the street yelling out, "Hot pandesal! Hot pandesal." It's a common occurrence there in the Philippines. No one will yell at you. They call you instead and buy bread, very fresh bread. So I was selling anything that will earn me some commission to help the family financially. God gave me a talent for music. Both of my grandparents were musicians and shared their love of music with me. When I left the school, I joined the military band. I was recruited in the army in 1969. That's me there. I had a lot of opportunities and became an established and known musician. I mastered my clarinet. I studied conducting and arranging, and I became the assistant conductor of the army band and the leader of the orchestra at a very young age. I was also chosen to be a training cadre, which is training officer to train new recruits. I served in the Army regular force for 12 years. God is always there and has been blessing me and protecting me from harm I didn't even realize. One morning, I was out walking around the perimeter of the camp, I found a Bible in the ground. When I opened it, it had a beautiful fragrance that I never smelled before. So I thought it must belong to a lady. So I kept it. I started reading it over and over. I finished because it's only a small one, which is it's only the New Testament. They have the 4 disciples and the Acts. So over and over, I wanted to understand more about it. I was a corporal in the army and was about 21 years old of age. Then one day, I was on duty in the armory where we kept all the ammunition, all the weapons, and the heavy equipment. I had a traumatic experience that I will never forget. The master sergeant came in and unlocked one of the arms rack. I was reading my Bible then and didn't take any notice, as it was just a common occurrence. I didn't even look up. Next thing I heard a gunshot and ran to see what had happened, and I found that he had shot himself. I raised the alarm, and then help came, and of course, we cleaned up the mess. I don't want to mention what mess, but it's really, because it's only low ceiling, and there's a barracks on the top. There's old soldiers sleeping on the top, and there's the armory underneath, and the and put a hole on the hole as well on the floor. Lucky no one got hurt. I was so confused, so upset and scared. I blamed myself for what had occurred. If I had looked up, I might have been able to stop it from happening. But I don't know why, but God must have known. After that, I began praying more often and continued reading my Bible. One evening, I was alone in the barracks. I was sitting down, and while I am praying, I smelled the same fragrance again as when I first opened the Bible I found. I felt light like I was floating. And I saw an image of a man in a white robe approaching me. He touched me on the head. He pat me. I looked up, but it was just brightness. I couldn't see his face. I felt different. I wasn't afraid, and I felt at peace for the first time since witnessing the suicide. I remember praying with the army chaplain. We have a chaplain in the camp. And when he arrived, we started doing service and mass just right there in the grandstand. And all the soldiers will be there seated on the ground, on the oval. And I was asked by the chaplain to be part of the worship, solo man worship, playing the organ. So he prayed for me. I told him what happened, and I gave my heart to the Lord, and He anointed me with oil. So what happened there is they started building a church, and when the church completed, we moved the service there, and I'm the organist. In any occasion, when there's wedding, the chaplain will go, and I go with him, and things like that. So I became his assistant. So during the time, there was a lot of fighting down south against the Muslim rebels. They're against their loyal forces. And my battalion was called in for reinforcement in Mindanao. Many young officers and soldiers died there. I didn't really want to go. But my order was rebuked anyway, that I didn't have to go, as I was the organist for the church. So the chaplain blocked my order. I believe God saved my life there, and He had more in store for me. My mom became unwell. She was probably in her 40s when she had heart problems. I felt called to climb the mountain of Banahaw. It's one of the highest mountains there. It will take you at least 24 hours from foot up to the top again. For me, this is a very spiritual and sacred place, and which reminds me of when Jesus went away by himself to pray in the Garden of Gethsemane. I prayed there for healing for my mom. And amazingly, my prayers were answered, and my mom got better, and to this day, her heart is still fine. She had different issue now, but not the heart. So I experienced other miracles on that mountain, hips. And my father even said that because he climbs there every year to collect some herbs, medicinal plants that he used for helping people and things like that. And he said to me, I'm very jealous. I've been climbing this mountain every year, and it's your first time, and that never happened to me. Those different things. But for the sake of the time, I will leave them out. And if you want to hear more about it, please come and see me, and I would love to share them with you. You'll be amazed. Really amazing. Yeah, so for some reason, I ventured back into the wilderness with women, gambling, alcohol. That's what soldiers do. And ended up in a forged marriage. This was not a happy marriage, but I thought this was going to be my lot in life. So I said, okay. I stuck it out and had 4 children. But my life was really sad. It was very sad. I even stopped playing music for a long time. And eventually we decided to part ways. I was given an opportunity to go to work in Saudi Arabia, on the plane. As a plant operator, I operate backhoe, loader, driving semi-trailers, heavy trucks, dump trucks. And I worked there for 4 years. God had not forgotten me, and He protected me during this time as well. The director of Ministry of Agriculture and Water was very fond of me. He's a big guy, Arab, quite rude sometimes and arrogant, bushy beard and things like that. And but he was very fond of me because I make him laugh. He's going to come to work to the farm and he's in bad mood or grumpy, but I'll do some tricks and jokes and he laughs. And he loved me. And he said to me he wanted me to be his son because as he's got no son, they're all daughters. But he got few wives, which is allowed in the Muslim kingdom. So he gave me Quran and 2 books. One is Quran and the other is a pillar of Islam to read. That's about Muhammad, the messenger of God, of Allah. That's why I understand a bit about Muslims. So he wants me to read that, and he promised me lots of good things if I would convert to Islam. I declined his offer. But for some reason, he wasn't angry at me. He wasn't angry with me at all. So now, one day, that's my one of my backhoe. I have 2 backhoes. One is crawler, big caterpillar, and this one is international harvester with wheels, big wheels and outriggers. One day I was assigned in the dairy farm. The job I was doing was to dig holes with the excavator for the installation of water pipes. They're going to install potable water for the whole area, and that will continue for long, all going to the residential areas and that. So the instruction was to dig up 1 meter deep and just follow the white line. So as the engineer and the surveyors will do. So I was following the marked areas when all of a sudden I dug up live high voltage cables. And there's fire. There was an explosion and my bucket was burnt. I felt the shock, but I wasn't harmed. And a couple of other misses also occurred, but God protected me there. He wasn't finished with me yet. So there's another 2 occurrences that I'm not mentioning it tonight, but it's quite dangerous, and God just me away. So God, He wasn't finished with me yet. Okay, now. But still in the wilderness, I went back to the Philippines. I was feeling lost, sad, and as if something was missing. I was far from God again. I remembered my old clarinet. I took it out from an old wooden chest, and I began to play. Bit slippery, I squeak and everything, but I keep practicing. And I started to get some happiness back when I played music with my old friends. And a friend of mine put my name down for an audition in a nightclub in Manila. The people there are very, very fond of music. They are really, really, and lots of good musicians there. And so to be involved with that kind of jobs and position, you're going to be really good because there's big competition. So it was a position for a lead alto saxophone player, which is that one, for a well-known big band in Manila. I was fortunate. I was given the job and worked there for 9 months. And that's where I was found by this American music director named Ray Kennedy. And he was from South Carolina, I think. And he offered me a position working in the band on board the cruise ship in America. Wow. I wasn't expecting anything like that. So another blessing for me. And all part of God's plan. I work on 2 ships owned by the same company. And I get along very well with the owners. He loves me because of I performed during the maiden voyage of a new ship that I joined. There was the symphony orchestra on board. And they requested me to play the leaf with the symphony orchestra. The leaf, because there's no gum leaf there, supposed to be gum leaves, but there's no even available fresh leaves on the ship. It's just all those ornamental plants, and there's actually some of them made of hard plastic and some made of silk. So the silk one works. So I played with the symphony orchestra, Florida Pop Symphony Orchestra, under the baton of Professor Mark Asolina. And I will never forget that name because of he's judging me. He doesn't, because of, I don't know, but he's judging me until he doesn't know me yet, but he haven't heard me yet. But I was wearing a white tuxedo and a red bow ties, and I got the lift. So the professor asked me, what are you going to play? I will play Granada. So how do you want? I'm going to do the intro. What key? A minor. You sure? yes, that's the only key I can make on these leaves. So I played it. I got standing ovation. And they won't stop clapping. And so the professor said, you have to do another one. Okay. Sorrento is a Spanish song, which is a very classical and really nice. So I did the intro again. And I can play the leaf like, sounds like a viola or a cello. Yeah, and when we get higher, it can sound like a violin. So that's when this professor gave me a big hug, and he said that in my 35 years of music making, I never seen anything like this. So that's changed his thing. Anyway, I work on 2 ships owned by the same company. And it was on the second ship that the best thing that ever happened to me occurred. I found the love of my heart. I met my lovely wife. Hello. Sorry. Robyn was working in the casino on board as a croupier, and I was in the show band. So we fell in love. I knew straight away that she was the one. I had never felt that way before. I felt happiness when I was with her. Robyn could not sing and dance, and we worked for different companies. But God had a plan, a better show. That was in the ship. You probably know this. Why is it there? So that was Florence Henderson. That's one of the celebrities. And so we performed in her show. And this, us. Okay. So Robyn could not sing and dance as we work for different companies. So she cannot join me. But God had planned. I would join and work in the casino industry with Robyn instead. Whoa, so it's different. Now, the casinos on board the cruise ship, International, won't normally employ inexperienced staff. But for some reason, the company let me be trained as a croupier on board, and Robyn was one of my trainers. She's a really good trainer. And I have a big decision to make, and that was to resign from the band, from the show band, and embrace a new life as a croupier. The casino gave me a job, and we were allowed to stay together. As you probably heard from Robyn last week, that she had this thing, and normally they'll send her home, but they let her stay. Now, we got married in San Diego, California in 1992 with my relatives as witnesses, my aunties, uncles, and grandma, great auntie. And after a year, we moved to Australia. We ended up in Darwin, and Robyn was offered a position at the Darwin Casino, but they would not take me. It's just the manager, just for some reason, he didn't even see my face, and he put my application form under the carpet. I was very disappointed, but that didn't hold me back. I always try to trust God. I always trust Him. And I know that when I'm feeling, so, God, please let me know. So I just say a little prayer. And so that didn't hold me back. What I did there, during weekend, I go to the Darwin Reserve Army Band headquarters. Introduce myself, I wasn't shy, to join and play my clarinet during the rehearsals. So I made some new friends there, and I met some locals who introduced me to some Filipino musicians. I helped organize and establish the Darwin Rondalia. It's a string band. I taught how to play 14-string guitars, which are native from the Philippines, and I arranged the music for them. They are still active today. They're traveling sometimes. You can always find them on YouTube, Darwin Rondalia. And I was recognized as the pioneer and also organizer and arranger of that string band. So I'm very proud of that. And as I don't have a job at the time, we didn't have much money. And Robyn was very surprised one day when she arrived home from work to find our fridge full of provision. I had received my very first pay in Australia for $1,000 in check from the Darwin Arts Council. This was more than she had earned in the whole 6 weeks she had been working in the casino. We recognized it as a blessing from God. After a short while, we moved to Alice Springs. And we were both offered jobs at Lester's Hotel Casino. Robyn told last week of how we came to attend the Baptist church there, and I became a member of the worship team as well. And all the kids were born there in Alice Springs. They've been called Yeppoon kids. And now, I stayed working at the casino for 12 years. I'm loyal. Also, teaching instrumental music on the side and playing gigs on my days off. Can't help myself but have to play gigs. While Robyn was on leave, caring for our 4 children, Jasmine, Jordan, Jacob, and Juliana, I had been promoted so many times and ended up becoming the table games manager, running the casino, in charge of hiring and firing, principal trainer, and I answer all the correspondence, and basically it's the job of a pool casino manager. I never asked for that, never dreamed of that to happen. So it just all happened. So later on, because being a manager, I can see a lot. I can see a lot that I cannot see when I was dealing, when I was a dealer, or when I was an inspector. But when I become manager, I can see what's really going on. That I've seen people from rich to poor. And so I look after all the mostly Aboriginal people there, that they were our cup of tea. They were the one there every day. But I don't like what they're doing because they are neglecting their family, and during payday they just spend their money. So I look after them, but I feel sorry for the children. So I becoming sad. I started to, I don't like my job anymore. And God was telling me to get out of the casino industry. But I'm not listening. I cannot hear what He was telling me because of I'm enjoying it's the promotion and the position that was holding me back. But my health was beginning to suffer and I was unhappy. But yet I stayed there in the wilderness as I needed to provide for my family. As Robyn told you last week, 2 more years in Alice, we moved to Yeppoon. It was Christmas 2006. That's my mother-in-law. And God has blessed me again with our church family. And Robyn mentioned how we get to join the Wesleyan church. And I just, this church, we just love our church family. And like us here, I love you all. And God has blessed us again with an addition to our family when Jasmine and Jono got married. And it was great joy when God blessed them with 2 beautiful children, our grandchildren. And at first we cannot settle in Yeppoon and wanting to go back to Alice Springs. I miss my friends, I miss my gigs, and I don't know many people here, and And everyone just looking at me from head to foot. And they give us strange look when Robyn and I walking down the street. It's just Yeppoon. But, so, yeah, so, anyway, I didn't have a job and worked in a real estate with Robyn's friend for a short while until I was offered a job at the Cathedral College in Rockhampton. So that's the kids when we moved here to Alice Springs. We were praying for a full-time job as our income was not enough. It was not long after that when Robyn attended a Bible study one morning, and she met a lady who was the music teacher at Heights College. When Robyn told her I was her husband, she was excited to meet her because she had been trying to track me down to offer me her position. She was going maternity leave. The doctors calling her to report to Brisbane. So when I started working there was no passing of information, and just have to start from the scratch. So I started there. They want me to start full-time in 2009, but I declined. I said, I cannot leave. This is the Cathedral College. I have students there, so if you like, I can give you 2 days. I will ask the boss there if I can work there 3 days and work 2 days for you to help you out. And then that will give you time as well to know if you still want me for next year, and me to myself as well if I like it here. So just giving them a bit of a nice option. So anyway, this lady, she said the position was 3 days per week, but we told her we wanted full-time position, and she said the college will do that for you. I was interviewed and then waited 6 weeks for the college to contact me. So I remember Robyn reminding me, oh, you should, it's been how long that since you've been interviewed? You maybe call them. I said, no, they said they will call me. So I waited. I wasn't worried at all because of if this job was from God, they would call me. I started full-time in 2010, and I know this is another blessing from God. My position has become my ministry to the children. That's our... Now, in 2017, I was very blessed to be able to take my family to the Philippines, except for Jasmine and Jono and the kids, to meet their siblings and relatives there. This was a beautiful meeting, and both the children presented as a united family. There's something that I've been praying for that would happen for many years, that my children there and children here would join together and unite. And it was really, really good. They feel the love to each other right away, and they just hug each other, and they just feel like as if they know each other. So thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Facebook. So, yeah, that's it. And they're all jumping up and down. They purposely leave 2 gaps there because of my one son is in abroad, working abroad, and also Jasmine here. So they leave space. So there's supposed to be 8, but there's only 6 there. Now, I know in my heart that I'm chosen by God. And He has taken many years, and the wilderness was sometimes a very dark, lonely place. But when I see the hand of God in my life, right back to my grandmother reading me the scripture when I was a child, I know I am called, and God still has a mighty plan on my life. So it's just God is so mighty, so mighty. I encourage you to trust in the Lord always. He's so faithful. He is here, there, and everywhere. It's just so many times that I moved away from him, and he called me back, and I come back, and he blessed me more. So just very compassionate time. So he is mighty and big in everything, and is mighty to save. So may God bless you. Thank you all very much for listening. And if you wish to hear some of those miracles that happened, please come and see me. And it's really, really, really good. Thank you very much.
There's one more slide, Romy.
There's more slide. There you go. There's 2 more slides. There, that's the family, Legaspi family. Yeah, so there's
Clicking the button because there's too many.
There's 2 families not there because they're, yeah, so.